We'll call the meeting to order of the Open Space and Recreation Committee at 7:10. And we'll take and the meeting is being tape recorded, and we can take a roll call. Is Colby here?
Here.
Okay. And Mary Jane?
Present.
George?
Present.
James isn't here, right? And Emmy's not here. David's not here. And Veronica?
Present.
And Carol Hofstas is present. And the chair has no additions or deletions. And did anybody have any comments on the minutes?
My only comment is they are excellent.
Oh, good.
Thank you. They are exactly what you need in minutes.
Yes, and actually, yes, I like the compact and very simple. It's great.
I like them.
And can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 16th.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mary Jane, how do you vote?
I vote yes, approved.
George, how do you vote?
Yes.
Colby
Yes.
and Veronica
Yeah.
and Carol Hofstas says yes. So the minutes are approved. Okay, so I guess we go to the work session. Maybe we'll be out of here in an hour. Discussion and distribution of the citizen survey. Okay, so I know you were at the senior center distributing paper copies.
Can I talk about it? Yes.
Go.
So the citizen survey went live last week, midweek, on I think Wednesday. We finally got it up. It was publicly posted. We made up a flyer, which you'll see at the library, the senior center here in town hall. I even asked some folks at the outdoor store if they would post a few, which has been great. There's news about it on the website, and we're going to reach out, do some more outreach and engagement about it, including it's on the new Townsend's Facebook page, which just went live last week. I think we're the first post, so pretty good about that.
I haven't looked at it. We're looking at the social media policy.
Oh, there you go. I don't know, maybe that's not true yet, but I'm hoping. But I talked with Jeffrey, who's been managing the survey, and we have over 200 responses so far, which is better than he's ever seen before. So that's great. Generally speaking, the bar is you want to have a minimum of 200. So we've crossed that bar in less than a week, which is great. An ideal is to get 400, which I don't know, seems like people are interested in it. So I think we can get it going.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but if you're signed up for the email alerts on the website, I got 5 email messages telling me about this survey. Because of, I signed up for the agenda for this committee and the agenda for, when I would. And so I got a lot of emails about, pointing me to this. So if people are signed up for alerts, and anybody in town can sign up.
Is that the code red alerts or?
No. You can sign up. Let me see if I can.
Oh, is there another place to sign up for
Get
alerts?
to the page, subscribe to e-alerts. So if you go to the website, I don't know if you can, yes, see on the right-hand side there? If you click to that, that's not the red alerts, click on that.
Hold on a second. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be fancy. There's no one here, but I'm going to share my screen anyway.
Sounds good.
All right. Just in case anyone watches this at home later on, because I know everyone's eager to be involved in this. So that's great. Yes. So subscribe to the alerts.
Okay.
And if you click on that, then you can put your email address and you can say what you want to get.
Oh.
And it worked. Harrison got it working. I had signed up for everything that I could, trying to make it work, and I didn't spend a lot of time making it work. Harrison did,
Wow.
and it
A
now
lot of good
works.
stuff.
So you can sign up for all of those things and
To not be robust.
not be a robot. And it actually works.
Oh, okay. I
I
learned
love
something new.
I love
Thank you.
when things work. So that's great.
Well,
So I got it a lot.
okay, because I got it through, because I'm on the baking volunteer list for the senior center and the historical society, whatever.
And they sent it out too.
And they sent it out
That's
too.
good.
The senior
Yeah.
center and the library I spoke with, and they put it in their
Yeah.
their normal communications.
Yeah,
It's really
it's-
great.
So I think it's working.
So-
And we have 200 already.
We have 200 already,
That's
which,
really good.
yeah, the previous bar that had been set was by Harvard. The town of Harvard was very active open space community, and we met their number with a few hours shorter than they did. So, bragging rights to all of us, kudos to us. It's been very well received. I'm glad to see people taking it. Thanks everybody again for doing all the work and helping it be a survey that's easier to walk through in the process, because that's the big thing. There's two things. It's getting people to get to it, but making it so that people are willing to work through it and get all the way to the end and submit, because we don't get any results unless they've completed the survey. You go in for 12 minutes on 15-minute survey and leave, we don't get any results. So I'm really glad.
I have a
But-
question.
yeah.
Did we put it through the schools?
We haven't done that yet.
Ah,
See if you can. Sometimes they don't distribute things. There's policy about that.
Okay.
So. and-
Who would be a good person to connect with the schools? and ask
I
those
would
questions?
talk to the principals.
yeah, I would go directly to the principals. The superintendent might not respond real quick.
I wouldn't go, because you want it really in Hawthorne Brook and Squanicook. They probably won't distribute it at the high school because it's regional. But if you can get it to Hawthorne Brook and Squanicook, I mean, not Squanicook.
Spalding.
Well,
That will, give you a good cross-section. of people.
I think so, and I think elementary and middle school parents respond
More so. than
more
high
so
school.
than high school.
I think you're right.
Well, I'll tell you, the number of people who have got in touch with me saying, where is that playground? It's been really a driving factor. So I'm sure if we reach out to those young families, they'd be like, what? Where's that playground? I want to get involved. I want more playgrounds in town. So, yeah, so I'm glad it's been really well received, but we've got to, we can keep plugging away. It's better to get more responses. So if you haven't sent it to friends, neighbors, all that stuff, really get out there. It's a good time for people to be able to get involved in what is going to be a big part of Townsend for the next 5-7 years. So it's a really good opportunity to put in feedback and be in the driver's seat in terms of what happens in your own community. I had a question. We never set a timeline for how long we were going to have this open. One of the reasons was because I wanted to make sure we had enough responses, and I didn't know we were going to get 200 people in like 48 hours. So do we want to set a timeline for how long the survey is open, or is there a number we want to try and reach for participants? What's the thought of the committee?
We should have it open for a while, I think.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think we should close it anytime soon. But I don't think we should say a number. Because look, you already reached your goal.
Yeah, I would not have guessed we were going to get to 200, so I'm pretty glad we did within a week.
Maybe till the end of June or the 4th of July or,
Yeah.
Something like that.
Is there a publication coming out that? Johnson? Newsletter?
I don't know if anything initially that is coming out, but we could. I like that idea a lot.
Facebook page.
The Facebook page, getting really trendy. We had someone reach out. There's going to be a mailer about some sort of fee or tax collection that's going to be going out. That's going to get mailed to all residences. We could put a copy of something in there, which would certainly be a lot of distribution. But you would have to have a cost for printing and putting it in there. So that could be a consideration. I feel like the school is a great idea, and we're going to get a lot of people who haven't been connected yet. And I mean, has everyone here taken it yet? We might have a few more.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I liked it. It was quick.
Yeah.
The questions were concise. They were much better than what was presented at last month's meeting. And I think they nailed recreation and open space.
Nice. That's good feedback.
One other question. Is there a particular number that would make it valid or useful? Sample size.
Minimum is 200, so we hit that bar, which is great. I talked to Jeffrey. He says ideal would be 400, although more is always better. But we're already at a point where we can get a pretty good sample size, which is a good problem to have. So it's really just how much icing do we want on the cake in a way. And I like spending some time making sure that we get a lot of people who haven't had the opportunity yet. I mean, I've still got emails I haven't answered from last week.
Yeah.
There could be more stuff like this in there. I would, you know, I think it's wise to keep it open. The only thing I would say is when we want to have the results to start working through it and incorporating it into the plan. It's very much up to the committee.
How long does that take, that result?
So to close out, so data gets collected with it to close it out, but to turning it into meaningful things, in particular graphics, which I think would be really a good way to have an idea of what people are saying and what their goals are. That I think would probably take a couple of weeks, not too long. So if we wanted to keep it open until, say, you know, like you mentioned, 4th of July,
Yeah.
we could probably have results back sometime in July or, but I acknowledge also that Jeff and the awesome folks at MRPC are doing a lot of the work on the data stuff, and I don't know what their vacation schedules are like.
I was gonna say, do we
That's-
have a timeline for our meetings and for their availability?
They have been really great about prioritizing us if we need help. So I feel confident that if we said go, they'd give us a pretty great turnaround. It's mostly just kind of up to the committee.
You want to go for June 30th, the end of the month?
Sure.
I think that's reasonable. I don't think that's excessive.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 30th, that's on Thursday before 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would spend my 4th of July weekend filling out a survey. So,
We should edit the red alert to say open until June 30th,
okay.
or complete by June 30th, or something like that.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't put it on the flyer because honestly, I thought we would be into August and trying to get past 70. The fact that we're at 200 a week is not something I anticipated. So go us. Like I said, if you haven't had a chance, or you haven't had your family members, your family, your friends, your neighbors you don't know too well, but you've always been looking for an opportunity to meet them, it's a good time to get out there. I'm also going to be reaching out to like the schools. It sounds like it's a good idea. If there's any other community groups that might be, I don't know if there's like a garden club or an outdoor recreation club.
I know that the Congregational Church does a flyer, you know, a bulletin or whatever. I don't know if the other churches do that. You could put it in there. You might get some response from that.
The other idea was reaching out and sharing the flyer to the Townsend Lawn Gun Club. Is there?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, and I think they have a pretty active mailing list community, or even just we drop off a flyer and they can hang it inside. Whatever works best for them. But those are the ideas I had so far. We're, like I said, further along than I thought we would be. So it's great.
Okay, so should we go on to the next 2.2 preliminary priority planning? What is that?
We had approved all the stuff that was made notes of by Jeffrey last month. So now we're kind of into the fun part where people can kind of say, well, this is what I think we should do. We could start putting out preliminary ideas, putting things on a page, seeing what kind of things our list looks like, maybe look at the open space plan and see if there's something in there that we want to keep or not keep. But it's more so the idea that what do you guys think is important and what should we start getting working on? A lot of the priorities will get also very much informed by what the community response to the survey is. So this is a good time while we're waiting for that response to kind of formulate anything that we feel is a priority. Like Dave's not here, but he's had some great comments about connecting, you know, the rail trail and other
the
recreational,
recreation, yeah.
with commercial infrastructure. And so that's a great priority, for example. That could be something we could make a priority of and then figure out how to make that workable and what deliverables on that would be. But if there's anyone that has anything, honestly.
Well, for me, what I would like is for Jeff to accept the changes that were minor. so that we could get a printout of the document.
Oh, a clean, an updated, clean
Yeah.
document to work
I
from.
mean, I went through and wrote a bunch of stuff, but I don't know how valid it is, because a lot of it was based on, he has notes in there, so I
Yeah, he had a lot
added,
of-
mentioned the Wild and Scenic Stewardship Committee, somewhere in there, things like that, but I kind of want to see what he has. And then I think for setting the priorities and things, we really need to see the results of the survey.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Before we do that, so.
Okay.
With the exception of one thing, water.
True,
True, I agree.
Yeah.
Clean water.
the
Good idea.
PFAS thing, there should be
Yeah.
something about.
That's a little
PFAS.
disturbing.
Yeah.
George, do you know anything about that?
No.
This is Dave's night. Where is he? Okay.
So maybe get from Jeff whatever he's accepted, even if it's not,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be 100%, just get from him that, so we can look at that and kind of figure out where to put in something on clean water,
Yeah,
and the PFAS, some sort of note about that.
Mhm.
And then wait for the survey results.
Yeah, because that will help direct us where we want to put the priorities.
So maybe if we could get, if it closes at the, if we could get graphics and results by sometime in July, like the end of July.
I bet if I give him a heads up that we can give him a date, we could probably make sure it gets accomplished in time.
And then meet and look at that, and
Sure. While we're on that topic, we might as well look and see. That's technically further along, but I'm happy we can look at that and see what everyone's thing is for timelines. Any holidays aside from the 4th of July?
No.
Juneteenth, no, next
That's
week
June,
or
yeah.
whatever, week after, I'm not sure.
It's Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Around that weekend there.
It's kind of nice.
So,
yeah, no, there's no holidays.
After 4th of July, it's pretty much just whatever vacations.
People
Yeah.
take,
yeah, I think that might be more the thing. So looking at Mondays in July, aside from the 4th, there's an 11th, an 18th, and the 25th.
We'll be at the planning board.
Oh, yeah, what's planning
Oh,
board?
yeah, when do you have the planning
On
board?
Mondays, but I only think.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause we
Are
do have
you
to
the
use them.
second and the fourth for planning
Yes.
board, or is it the?
I
That is
think
usually
it's
second and fourth.
Yeah,
Well-
unless they change it, but yeah, it's usually the second and the fourth.
The
So that,
third is the 18th. Is anyone around for that, on vacation?
Well,
I honestly don't know off the top of my head what my schedule is for July.
I'm around for the 18th. The other one I would go for would be August 1st. I'm good with the 18th if MRPC can provide us with results by then. If
Mhm.
that's aggressive for them, because I don't know their schedule, then I would go with the 1st,
Mhm.
even though that's 2 months out, really. But it's kind of like without that.
I know, we're kind of stuck.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, well, if folks can go through the survey and work and see if they find any things they want to make for corrections, because Jeff has only gone through the first 4 sections at this point. So not the survey, I apologize, the previous
Okay.
plan.
oh, the plan.
So if I speak right, it's more clear, I'm sorry about that. If there is anything like that. And again, yes, very much in a lot of ways, it's going to be very much driven by the responses to the surveys. But again, if you guys all represent different groups, and so if there is a priority that you kind of come with from your committee, we can certainly start talking about that. And in that same vein, subcommittee planning, if there is topics that need to come up that need to get worked, it doesn't need to necessarily everything get done in a formal meeting. It could be subcommittee meetings, it could be individual work that gets shared. We have to be, I want to be respectful of open meeting law, making sure it's successful, but if people are like, I would like to work on this topic or this chapter or something like that, that's something we can certainly figure out how to do. Veronica, do you mind sharing with how subcommittees work in general? Do you know off the top of your head?
How they work?
In general, like what I know they're subject to open meeting law. But
Well,
under,
for us, we're such a small group. I mean, we don't. I'm not sure what you're asking.
I don't know what I'm asking.
Well,
I'm just-
I think that if
Because-
we, if you assign 2 people, you don't have a quorum. And so as long as the subcommittee isn't so big that you would have a quorum of the committee on it, I think we can just pick what we want to work on. And, if there are 2 or 3 people, as long as there aren't 5 of us, you just work on it. I don't think there's anything formal
Okay,
about it.
I just haven't run into it too much, so it's fine.
Certainly it's our committee, so. Board of Selectmen isn't going to be appointing subcommittees or anything
No,
like that.
gosh.
Okay.
And you can meet, but you'd have to report back to the full group,
Mhm.
that's all. So the decisions would be made by the full group, but you can, like if I wanted to work on infrastructure or some such thing, where was I looking at this?
Someone desperately wanted to tackle the soils section.
Right,
If
so
you
you
get
would
right on
go
that.
through and you would, we did this with the master plan. Everybody worked on a certain part,
Part,
and
yeah,
then you brought it back to the whole group. And that's where decisions get made.
so we're still working on this master plan.
You know.
Because I was hoping to get the master plan approved because some of the language in the master plan can actually go into this plan. You wouldn't have to like reinvent,
Are you talking about the planning commission master plan?
the town master plan.
Oh, right.
Because there is some parts of the master plan that could actually fit inside of here. You wouldn't have to rewrite that section, you just take it. But we're still working on it, so.
So is there anything that anyone wants to get started on or look at? Is anyone with a personal interest?
Well, some of it's above my head. I mean, the geology and the Board of Health and the water.
Again, this is all based on what Jeff has accepted from what he put in there. History of the community, that's not mine. Someone else could probably work on that and know better than me. But I wouldn't mind working on the infrastructure piece of it, or the part that talks about, there was one part in here that I really, the community setting piece, regional context, socioeconomic context. I think there's a lot that needs updated. And I find that stuff interesting. So this is like page 1. But I want to see what he accepted from that before I, the infrastructure section. Where am I at? Well, no, the history of the community, page 4, 5. Mary Jane, are you the person that's the historic district?
I am.
So you might be, there might not be much that needs to change in there. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure.
That would be easy for me. And the other one is the cultural and historic areas. I like that. I mean, those are like naturally easy for me.
Let's say where it's like chapter 3.2, the history of the community. That section is in the master plan, and they should read the same.
Or,
Should
yes,
Yeah.
they should be similar at
At
least.
least,
Yeah.
they should be very similar.
Well, maybe we'll finish ours up and we can give it to the master plan.
Well, that part of the master plan is very well written, the history of the community.
Oh, good.
So-
So where do I get that?
You should be able to get it from Beth, right?
Beth is
Yeah,
on vacation right now.
So,
but she
For the
should,
week?
Well, so I want to be respectful, is it, because it's not finalized yet.
it's not finalized, but
So what would be appropriate?
I guess
Maybe-
I'd have to ask Beth what would be appropriate, but I know it's well written and it should be I mean, these documents should, if you have one section, they should flow throughout. They shouldn't be different.
Is
The history of
I
the
get what you're trying
community
to
is
say.
the
Yeah,
history
yeah,
of the
it is
community.
what it
It should
is,
be the
yeah.
same for
something
each
that we could
document.
ask the planning board, if we could share
Sure.
certain sections?
Yeah, I think we have our meeting next week, so I can do that, sure.
You know, and obviously not anything they don't feel comfortable doing.
So it's not a secret, it's like the history.
No, it's just, it's mostly like the working draft of things,
Yeah,
so. we don't wanna-
because it's, if it was a final signed document, it'd be no problem. We'd just say, take it.
I did.
Which it is close to, they've been really doing a good
Which,
job on it.
it's close, but I think there's some formatting issues. State formatting issues that have to be fixed, but I'll
And now,
ask.
how does the cultural and historic areas? That, it should be the same. It's different though, I mean. History and community is 3.2, and cultural and historic areas 4.6. Are they the same?
Probably not.
Probably not.
They're probably similar, but you could have different things in there, you know, cultural piece.
Yeah, I would work on that. I mean, that would be, of all the things, that would be my most area of expertise.
So page 13, for me, there's two really pink paragraphs. This is under long-term development patterns. That's all old. That could be updated a lot. And I wouldn't mind working on that.
I'm just writing this down.
I'm just looking at the 40B site. Turnpike Village will be built as 224 unit 1 and 2, providing 12 for blah, blah, blah. That's already completed. That's done.
Is there pages associated with the section you're looking at?
It's page 13.
So page 13, all right.
Yeah.
And here-
Those two are, they're true for this time period, but there should be something that looks at the small plans.
And Mary Jane, what are the pages that you were looking at?
You would ask. I know stuff here. Page 4. And then this doesn't have any page numbers.
Or if it's just a section, I can write it down.
So the section is 4.62,
4.6.
which is a cultural and historic, and the other one is section 3.2 with the history of the community. So those two kind of go together.
I think that the 4.6, I'm not sure, but if that could talk about the historic districts in town.
It does.
And,
Yeah.
you know, those, you know, the Reed Homestead and.
Right, yeah.
I would think that 4.6 would talk about all that.
Advanced, yes. The town hall. Yeah.
And I would go for, and anybody can work on this. And let's just add it. The growth and development, 3.4, which is page 8. Let me look at this, maybe I'm 8, 9, and 10.
All right, I should have realized I should have printed a copy of this out. I don't have one for me, but
Yes,
good job, Paul, you brought it.
Well, mine doesn't have any page numbers
3.4
on
you're
it,
talking
so.
about.
Yeah, 3.4. And, but I wouldn't want to do the water supply and the septic, that wouldn't be me. I could do 3.4.3, long-term development patterns. That's the one with the two big pink things that should talk about more recent developments in town.
Well, I can definitely reach out to Jeffrey and have him accept the changes that are made at current. And then you guys then send me a new copy and I'll send it to everybody, and folks who are working on stuff can get started working on stuff. Is there anything else anyone else feels like they want to take a stab at?
Guys, you gotta step up.
I know you guys are humble, but you guys know you have a lot of expertise. I've worked with both of you before.
There you go.
These sections here in the beginning are more things that we can do without having survey results necessarily. Because it's just saying, hey, this is what's been happening.
Yeah.
In a sense.
So you're saying, like, in a sense, bringing it up to date of what's actually happening right now?
Right now, right. This refers to developments like they're gonna happen, but they've already happened and there are other
Right,
ones.
as opposed to the want list
Yeah,
that we're creating with the survey.
yeah, the want list comes up with other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, for other parts of the document.
I think there's somewhere in the plan that references the idea that perhaps we should consider a rail trail here in town at some point. I think is somewhere hidden in the plan, which, you know, we've made some strides on, which is great. So,
Yeah, I get it.
And the Squanicook wasn't a wild and scenic river when that was written. I don't even know if it was a thought in the head of anybody when this document was written, you know, 9 years ago. So things like that we can update.
great.
I'll look in to see how much of the master plan reflects some of these sections and if we can share them. So they don't have to be rewritten, they can just be
It'll
copied.
be interesting to see because the survey for the master plan was done many moons ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And this survey is more current than the master plan survey. So in the open space section, it'll be interesting to see how it matches up. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because there's such a time lapse between
Plus-
that survey and this survey.
Well, yeah, and I know we argued about some of the demographics and some of the things about that they're still old, even in the master plan, but I do get that you have to make a cutoff at some point. And the 2020 survey wasn't available, so.
It'll be interesting to see. Like somebody mentioned earlier, high school parents don't fill out surveys as much as elementary school parents. If nothing else, the elementary school parents that filled it out 5 years ago, taking it now, will have their kids in high school, might not take it, but we get the new elementary school kids who were not maybe even born yet when the last one went out.
It's true.
So-
That was like 2017 for the master plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see. Good to get some data. I had a question for the committee. In one of the historical sections, there's a reference to the native peoples that lived here. Something that's come up since this was originally done is it's becoming more seen to have something called a land acknowledgement in the beginning of documents, things like that. That's kind of an acknowledgement of the traditional homelands of the individual groups or tribes in the homeland.
Oh, I
of
think
the
that's a
area.
great idea, especially in this state, because this is a state, unlike the rest of the country, who recognizes that the Native Americans were the owners. And to this day, when you get a deed in this state, you only get a quitclaim deed, you don't get a warranty deed, because this state recognizes the Native American ownership. I think that's a great idea to identify the tribes. I think it would be respectful and I think it's an incredibly integral part of at least this part of New England. For the whole New England.
In that thing, there's a tribe in Fitchburg because, and the only reason I know that is I volunteered when they brought the wall here down at the high school when I was a volunteer. They had I forget the name of the tribe, but they were doing a blessing of the wall. And at the end of the blessing, they went around to I went and talked to them and found out that they were in Fitchburg, and I forget what tribe name they were. And they actually said, "Do you want to be blessed?" And I said, "Sure, I'll take all the blessings I can get." And so that they, different folks that were there, if anybody was interested in being blessed by them. And just, so they had their ceremonial dresses on, and they went the whole wall, they blessed the whole wall, they went the whole length doing their thing. And then individuals, if you went and talked to them, they would describe their history, what they were doing to the wall, and then they got blessed. Evil spirits were released, and I'm like, okay, works for me.
I have no idea what tribes settled here. I have no clue.
Well,
And I was born and raised here. I couldn't even tell you.
If it's something that the committee wants, so my role before working here in Townsend was I worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and specifically I worked with the Native American Liaisons Program.
There you go.
And so I wrote the Northeast Region's Indigenous Land Acknowledgement.
So you know
Very
who you
involved
are?
with the process, and I know the federally recognized tribes and some of the state recognized and acknowledged groups that are here in the region. So I could certainly put something together for the committee to look at.
Well, I
That's
think
something
it's
they-
timely right now too in our, the time where everybody's kind of being recognized now
Mhm.
of the places that they've taken, good, bad, or indifferent. I think it would be a very good idea.
Okay, I can.
I don't know
put
how the
something
rest of
together.
you feel, but
I would agree with that. I think it's a good idea.
I will draft something up and do the little background communications that go with it to make sure that the right people are acknowledged.
and you would want that in the front of this.
It's up to the committee. I mean, so I just happened to see, again, I'm sorry, I don't have it. I think it was the history of Townsend section starts off with, this was like a fishing area or something like that for a group, something. I just happened to see it in there kind of as a precursory thing very early on in the history of Townsend. But I don't know, like I said, I don't have it in front of me, so, and it didn't have a ton of depth, but, it's, for 2013, it was good to see that included in some way. But it was something that the committee wanted I can work on. And then you can all figure out where you'd like to include that if you do want to go forward with that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Those sections in here that. 4.4 vegetation. 4.5 fisheries and wildlife. 4.7 environmental problems.
Or what was 4.7?
Environmental problems.
Environment.
So where I get that.
Yeah, it seems like a good time to jump on stuff that you feel confident with, because get it out of the way, and then we have less to do later on.
Because I think in one of your slideshows, because under this section of Section 5, the inventory of lands and conservation and recreation, there's the percentages of the lands. I was just wondering if they're still kind
No,
of.
not
So-
even close.
So,
So,
because when I had originally looked at the document,
yeah,
back when Veronica and I were doing this, I kept my copy that I marked up because there was a lot of percentages in here that need to be just verified if they're,
all the numbers of acreage of lands at different types and things like that, I'm working on administratively putting together.
okay.
I've been coordinating with the town assessor's office to make sure the data is up to date. There were some discrepancies, so we're just making sure it's accurate. But the percentages do seem to be a big difference from the previous plan. So I'll make sure that those data, because that was something that we had to do in my department anyway.
Okay,
so
I
I'll make
figured
sure
you had that
Yeah,
data,
nobody
Right.
else to work on that for homework.
but, but there is, different areas in here, there's numbers called out and percentages called out in different sections. I just don't know who would know to verify that they're still current or they need to be updated.
The land use coordinator is a good victim for that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
volunteer. No, it's something we need to do for a lot of things in town, so it's proven more time intensive than anticipated. In part because you can't just turn on the town assessor's map and say state-owned lands, because it might be Mass Division of Fish and Wildlife, Mass Division Div Fish and Wildlife, Mass Div Fish, depending on who wrote the thing the day, and it has to reflect what the state code is. So, but we've been building a pretty solid inventory and found a couple. This has been attempted a couple times in the last 7 or 8 years. So, just getting it up to date.
So, yeah, when I went through this, I just marked like all these areas where, okay, this is a question.
That's good.
Who's gonna know?
Well, that'll be the really important thing, because even when the numbers, I come back with numbers, remembering every spot that they go in is going to be an important thing. So that's great to just even call out like FYI for this, or this is a blue highlighter, this is a yellow highlighter.
Well, yeah, that's funny. Originally, I went through and I just either made notes or questions or highlighted and said, well, maybe these sections need to be updated, or are these still valid, basically.
So we could all take our sections then and, the end of July or whenever we meet again. But Jeff has to give us his.
I'll get Jeff on that
Yeah.
right away. I spoke to him this morning. He's happy to help with stuff. So I think I think
Okay,
he's
just
ready to.
whatever he has now.
Yeah, to give
From
us
after our
give us a
last
solid
meeting.
starting point, and then I can send it out. I'll send it to everybody this week.
Okay.
So y'all can work on
That would be great.
it. Ample free time. Enjoy those long, beautiful summer days inside, working through an open space document. Print it out and take it out and sit in the camp chair or something like that.
Like today, you need to be inside because that pollen is wicked.
Pollen is
Oh my
awful.
God.
It's awful.
It's like I had to mow. By the time I finished mowing, my lawnmower was like caked with, it was so yellow. He's like, I had to go brush it off before I put it. And now I'm all congested because I swallowed, I think, half that pollen.
I've never seen it quite as bad as it's been this year. It's been a lot.
It's been a long time since it's been this bad.
Yeah, we've had rainy Junes. I think that makes it not as
Mhm.
glowy.
All right, so I will check on those sections for you and see if I can get copies of the
Okay,
history, so you don't have to
thank
like
you.
redo it or something. So do we have anything else? Do we have anything else, anybody? Are we good?
We're good. We should just pick a date to meet in July.
So
So
you said 18th or the 1st?
yeah, the dates that Veronica mentioned were July 18th or August 1st.
Depending on what Jeff can get
Depending on
us.
what Jeff can do. Like I said, I think that we could probably have things together by the 18th if we close it on the 30th. And he knows that it's coming. that it's gonna
Okay,
go
so
to the
then we
30th.
want to meet on the 1st. Probably.
Either way,
Oh.
we're gonna close it on June 30th. We could meet on July 18th or August
Oh,
1st.
okay, you think you
I'm
have
putting
everything?
both of them on my calendar.
Yeah.
And then we can decide maybe once you meet with Jeff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could tentatively set a date if you'd like, and then I will talk to Jeff, and again, probably this week, he'll to tell you what, confirm how much time he's gonna need for
Right.
filing data. And if it is something that he can get to us sooner, I might even be able to share it with folks before the meetings so they can look at it individually.
Okay,
We can inform.
Yeah.
But that sounds like a good date if that's what
okay,
people want to
so
try
we
for.
want to try for the July 18th? Okay,
So I make a motion that we schedule our next meeting for July 18th at 7 o'clock.
I'll just second that.
and how do you vote, George? Bobby?
Yes.
Yes. Veronica?
Yes.
Mary Jane?
Yes.
And Carol Hoff says yes. And so do we want to take a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight?
On that meeting. I don't need to thank you for allowing us to come at 7, but soccer season will be over at that point, so we'll change the time. Thank you again.
Oh,
I'm good with the 7 time.
okay.
I didn't know we adjusted it for you, Colby, so.
He was not the only one, but it was definitely the kind of thing that, like, we can make the meeting whatever works for everybody, so.
I'm okay with 7.
I'm okay with 7.
Does that work for you?
I'm here, I get paid, so.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay,
7 p.m.
okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And a second? You'll second it? Okay. How do you vote, George?
Yes.
Colby,
Yes.
Veronica,
Yes.
and Mary Jane?
Yes.
And myself, Carol Hoff says yes.